Good. All righty then. Welcome everyone to today's Q&A session with Bozeyeh, the CEO and co-founder of Flowless. Flowless is a tech-based solution that utilizes emerging technology to monitor and control water networks, providing insights for process automation and faults detection. The system uses smart devices to collect real-time data from water networks and displays this information on a user-friendly website with advanced analytics and AI to support data-driven decision-making. Flowless has implemented projects across Palestine, Ireland, Jordan, and Tanzania, and is currently expanding to new markets with the goal of achieving impact for sustainable water and resilient communities. Welcome, Becker.
Thank you so much, Bisan. Thank you so much for everyone to be here. Really great pleasure for being here, and thank you so much for having me.
To kick things off, Becker, can you start off in layman's terms, the most simple ways, explaining what does Flowless do? What does Flowless do?
Right. So this is something that I always struggle with, and not because, but basically because we work in a very niche market. We work with in a market that is really hard to work on. We're working on water in the most water scarce region in the world. So you can imagine how hard our work is. But of course, thankfully, we have great people to support us, like Build Palestine. We've been actually working with Build Palestine from the very beginning with Lama and with the team. So yeah, I've always been grateful for all the support. So what we do is we work with farmers, and we work with network operators, water networks operators, and we help them basically manage their daily operations. So for example, let's take farmers. They have lots of work to do on a daily basis: irrigation, fertilization, other activities in their farm. And they are always struggling to keep track and to keep with the pace of all the workload that they have in the field. And on top of that, they are always constrained with lots of limitations regarding the human resources, money, natural resources. So yeah, you can imagine how their life works. So what we do is we help them tackle parts of their work by automating their operations. So instead of them going to the field to open the tap to irrigate the crops, we automate this whole process. So the way it works, our system collects real-time data from the field on, for example, soil moisture, weather conditions, and other types of data. And based on this data, it takes actions and drives decisions to, first off, automate the whole process and optimize it, which means cutting down water losses, cutting down energy consumption, and reducing lots of work that the farmer has to do on a daily basis. Same works for water utilities, but in a slightly different way, because water utilities are those entities or companies that are managing water infrastructure before it gets to your tap. So the infrastructure, the pipes under the roads, to make it very simple and straightforward. And it's also very hard to manage those because you can't see them. They are underground, and they're always leaking and causing lots of problems, faults, not only in the pipes, but also on pumps and other facilities. So we also help them by providing insights for leak detection, for process optimization, to help them automate their pumps and valves and other operations in field.
It's a very complicated system. It's a very niche problem that you're tackling. Can you take us back to the beginning of how you came up with this idea?
Yeah, so it started like 4 or 5 years ago. And that's when I was working with a utility company, water utility company in Palestine. So I was fresh out of college, and I was enthusiastic and wanted to do lots of stuff. The utility I was working with was had a relatively new network, new pipes, essentially. So it was supposed to be efficient and with less problems and less leaks. But it turns out that this was not the case. It has lots of problems, lots of leaks, and lots of issues. And they claim to have a smart system, smart water or smart metering system. But still, we had to do lots of manual works. Like we had to go to the field to collect meter readings and to operate the pumps and to work with the facilities. And we were a very small team with tight schedules. So we were like doing like a total of maybe 2 to 3 hours every day for reporting for the daily report. And that was like a lot. So I started looking for solutions because obviously they're like every utility is struggling with maybe more than what we faced. So obviously someone should have come with a solution. So I started looking for this solution and I started learning more about smart technology for remote monitoring for water utilities, including smart meters and control devices, SCADA systems, all those jargons in the water sector. But yeah, and this is where it all started. And then I started working with my co-founders, Iyad Arafat and Osama Hneni. And from there, we started to build on that, trying to figure out a solution that fits the context. And this was the most challenging part, to find the solution that really fits the context, not only in Palestine, but also in the MENA region. And then we discovered that most utilities worldwide also face very similar solutions, very similar problems.
That's so fascinating that you were working in the water utility company. You were spending these 2 to 3 hours a day doing the reporting, and then still relatively fresh out of college, you started to think, how can we do this better? Like, let's come up with a new solution. You know, as someone who was born and raised in Palestine, can you tell us a little bit about that decision that you made where you were like, you know, I'm not just going to accept the situation as it is, like maybe there's something I can do about it. Like what was your belief in that moment? What was your journey like to find a way for you to drive change?
Yeah, so before I answer your question, let me mention this occasion that happened to me last week, actually, when I was in a meeting with a very interesting and very smart guy. He is like the father of leak detection in the whole world. And I was talking to him, and he mentioned that he had a visit to Palestine, to Ramallah, in the 1970s. And he said that he worked with the utility there to help them fix their problems, essentially. And he said that he worked with Palestinians and he was surprised by how determined and committed and very hardworking they were. He told me this literally, and I'm quoting, he told me that he was actually amazed by how smart the people were, how hardworking they were. So it turns out that it's something in the genetics of Palestinians. We are problem makers, but we can also be problem solvers in some context. So from there, you know, genetics and with the engineering mindset, trying to find the solutions. Because I come from an engineering background, I have my bachelor's degree in civil engineering and master's degree in sustainability engineering. So yeah, always trying to find a solution because yeah, I always believe that solution really exists, but we just need to find it or make it if it doesn't exist. So yeah, from there, starting to do some research, obviously start to utilize what is already there because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to utilize what's already there and build on it to be more magnificent and more fit to the context and fit to what we're looking for.
And, you know, we always talk about the social innovation ecosystem. And so when you started Flowless, like when you had this idea, when you were doing the research, when you wanted to see what can I actually create here, I'm curious about how did you engage with the ecosystem? Where did you plug in? What worked and what do you wish would be better for other people who are, similar determinants, similar brilliance to solve a problem, but maybe they just can't find the right path?
Yes. So the thing is, I think that Palestinians in some contexts now, it really depends on where you are from Palestine, because you might know that some cities are more business oriented, some cities are not so much. So I came from a background that is not very business oriented, and I had the program in college that at the very last year in college, they wanted to support students in starting their startups, basically. So they came to me and they told me that you can build your company and you can do this and that. But I wondered, why do I really want to build a company? I can do stuff, I can pay back to the community, because I always wanted to do something for the community in Palestine and also uh, in the region. But with the company, that was not the pathway for me. So I started learning more, and then I came across the brilliant program called Founder Institute. That's from where we started in Flowless with Lama Amr. Shout out for Lama and with Dawood Ghanam. So I started learning more about business and how to pitch to investors and all these stuff that are not very funny to learn, but then whenever you learn them, it turns out that they are very much needed and very much helpful. So yeah, and then from there, so the beginning was not very. Uh, it was hard time starting. So the beginning was not very easy, especially because we were, as I told you, working, and we're still working in a very niche industry, in a very niche yeah, in a niche market. So we did not found the direct advice that fit our needs, because we were pitching for people and they didn't understand what we were talking about. Not because of them, because of how we framed it back then. But hopefully we got help and we improved with time, and it became better and better with time. Uh, Another thing that I really missed at the early days is people that talk about impact, social cause, because everyone wanted to pitch for investors and become the next unicorn and uh, tackle, penetrate more markets and bring in more money. But then when you talked about, saving water or maybe do some good for the community, this was echoing and nobody was like relating to those stuff we were talking about. But I see lots of things are changing, not only in Palestine, but worldwide. So more recognition and is being brought to those subjects of social impact and social enterprises. Yeah.
Awesome. And tell us more about Flowless's growth. So you all not only service within Palestine, both farms and utility companies, but also abroad internationally. Can you share a little bit about your business model?
Yeah.
How do you bring in your revenue? Maybe even some revenue numbers, if you can share those, and kind of what the financials of Flowless look like.
Right. So our business model is based. We have different business models, but the main one is based on two components. The first one is selling the hardware, which is the data transmitter, the device that is connected to, sorry, the device that is connected to the sensors to collect the real-time data. So we sell those devices, and then we charge annual fees for using the software that analyzes the data and provides insights for the farmer and the utility company to help them detect faults and optimize operations and so on. So it's twofold. We call it the turnkey business model. And we have another business model, which is the SaaS, the software as a service. And here we don't sell the hardware, we just sell the software for annual fees. And we integrate the software with hardware or devices from other vendors or other suppliers. We're using this for expansion because obviously it's more scalable. Not saying that the hardware is not scalable, it is, but it's faster to scale the SaaS through the SaaS model at the early stages, and I would consider Flowless still is in the a little bit early stages. Yeah, so we started generating revenues back in 2020. And to date, we've made like $300,000 in revenues. We are still bootstrapping, so we didn't raise any equity investments, but we raised grants from our supporters from different organizations, and this is how we built the company from the ground up.
Can you share more about your fundraising or the bootstrapping? $300,000, congratulations, that's a huge accomplishment for the space that you're in. And inshallah, it's only the start, right? Because there's a lot of product market fit, a lot of building a team, like the groundwork, the foundation that happens. And the fact that you guys have been doing this for so long and are picking up the traction, like something is going to unlock and that growth is coming. Can you tell us more about your decision around funding? Why did you decide to bootstrap? Are you looking for investment? Where can finances unlock your growth?
Yeah. So like 2 years ago, we've taken the decision to stop fundraising. And that was not an easy decision to take, but it was a must for us to focus because obviously you can't do everything. You have a limitation to how much you can do in a day. So either you work on fundraising or you work on growing the company and basically acquiring new clients and expanding to new markets. So we've taken that decision because we were doing this inside and like internal exercise for valuation, and we found out that our valuation at that time was quite low for what we were hoping for. So that meant that if we raised funds at that stage, we would be diluting the shares of the company. We would be like giving away too much for very small amount of money. Considering that we are based in Palestine, that's unfortunately not very positive for investors, not only from like internationally, but also in the region and in Palestine, sadly. So yeah, so we've taken that decision, and since then we've been focusing more on expanding to new markets and been expanding our customer base and expanding our impact, not only in the MENA region, but also worldwide. Now, recently we have resumed our fundraising activities, but we're not actively fundraising. So we're not chasing investors. That's because we right now have the resources that help us grow and expand, fortunately, by the support of our amazing supporters from different organizations, namely from Al-Fanar. So yeah, we're right now focusing more on expansion and going international, and we have lots of potential to unlock before we start fundraising again, before we start actively fundraising again, because we think that for us to be able, like, we have many more stuff to do before we fundraise, including having more traction in our international markets. We already have clients in Ireland, in Tanzania, very soon in the UK, in East Europe, and in Mali. So we have lots of work to do there before we start chasing investors, or maybe investors would start chasing us.
I have no doubt about that. So I just want to probe deeper into the funding journey as a social entrepreneur, because I think what I'm hearing you say is actually to fundraise is almost a full-time job. Like it would require so much focus for you all to go out and to raise the funds that you need to be doing what you're doing. And so you've decided to go more around the bootstrap for a period, and now with Al-Fanar coming in, also providing a lot of support. So what is it about the structure, the financial structure of Al-Fanar that has made them such a good partner for Flowless? And where, like, what's your hope for the ecosystem, right? So you're one of the most successful Palestinian social enterprises. Just, for context for everyone who's listening, Build Palestine, we see Al-Fanar as a key player of where we want the social enterprises to be graduating to. So Flowless is their first investment in Palestine. It is about building that ecosystem. It is about having these more creative financial tools that meet the unique needs of the social enterprises. So could you just talk a bit more about that and what your experience was?
So when it comes to fundraising, we always tell all the investors and all the supporters that we work with that we are not we're not after money. We're not seeking to raise money and that's it. We are looking for what we call smart money. And when someone asks me what you want, I always ask for connections and for opening new doors and new pathways for clients, for partners, for supporters, and so on. So I always believe, and this is something that we've learned, that sometimes a startup, and this is feedback that we're hearing from other startups as well, sometimes if you accept money at the very beginning, this could be something that would hurt you in the future down the road, because at the very beginning you don't necessarily have the experience, or you don't really know what you're looking for. So the VC or the angel investor might taking you into routes that you don't necessarily want to go through. So this means distractions. This means lots of trouble for your company or for your startup. Now with Al-Fanar, it's exactly the opposite. Their model is very unique, very patient, very long to go through, but it's very unique in that they build this relationship with the startup and with the entrepreneur. So they understand what we want and what our aspirations for the future and how we're gonna tackle the challenges that we have right now. And they help us by opening doors, by connecting us with many different people like consultants, supporters. They're helping us in many different ways in exploring new markets, for example, because obviously they have a very wide network of supporters. So this helps a lot, and this is what we were actually looking for in an investor slash supporter, because we've always believed that there is much more for our startup. There is much more to look for than just money.
Awesome. So one of the goals of تحت الزيتون, under the olive tree, is to build this global community of supporters, people who want to plug into Palestine, want to support, tap into their network, Palestinians in the diaspora and allies, so that we can help initiatives like yours go to the next level, because we never know where that connection is going to be. You never know who's going to be able to open up that door. So right now, what would be the best possible outcome of this conversation? What is the door that you're looking to open? How might people be able to help? Because again, you never know who's going to be listening to this, and to be able to unlock that opportunity for you.
Great. That's a very good question. Thank you so much, Bisan. So as I told you, we're always looking for connections. And when I say connection, I mean connection with partners, business partners and development partners, supporters, and with clients. So the way we work is we always need to go through social selling for us to sell our solution. And that means establishing a relationship with our clients and helping them find a solution for their problems. This is what we do. We don't sell, we find solutions for people. We solve problems for people and for utilities, for companies, etc. To do that, we always need to establish this trust and safety. And it always helps to get like a warm introduction to a utility or a farmer or farming association. That's on the client side. And on the business, on the partnership side, we're always on the lookout for business partners, like, for example, companies providing services for water utilities or for farmers, and so on, suppliers, distributors. All connections of this kind are what we are actually looking for at this point, because we're expanding and we're focusing more on new markets right now in Africa and in East Europe, and we're looking for ways to penetrate those new markets. So any insights, any connections with potential partners and supporters would be very much appreciated.
Super. So now as we're starting to wrap up, is there anything that we haven't covered, anything else that you want to add or clarify? And also, if someone wants to get in touch with you with a potential collaboration, introduction, partnership, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best channel right now to connect. So I would be dropping my LinkedIn account and my email in the chat in a minute. So that's how to connect. Something that we have not talked about is our impact model. So how we generate impact. So we are an impact-driven company at the core. So our impact, thank you so much, Rehan, for posting my LinkedIn account. So our impact is very locked in our business model, because whenever we sell to a utility company or a farmer, we automatically generate impact, because our goal is to help them achieve operational efficiency, cut down costs, and improve profitability. And that's done by reducing energy waste and water waste. So that's the beginning of our impact model, where we help them cut down water losses. To date, we have helped utility companies and farmers save more than 470 million liters of water. And we also helped cut down greenhouse gas emissions, CO2 emissions, of about like 130 tons of CO2 equivalent. On the social impact side, we have a pipeline or a process for paying back to the community through our internship program. So we have a full-fledged structured program for internship, where we get fresh graduates and those who are just starting their careers, especially in software development, and we help them learn the basics. And most of the time, like in many cases, they become part of our team afterwards, after they get the essential knowledge. Actually, a third of our team started with us as interns. we also help farmers create new jobs for the community, because obviously when the farmer cut down costs, and when they reduce their waste and boost profitability by using Flowless solution, they are able to expand their farm. So they are able to bring in more workers, which means creating more jobs for the community. Yeah, so that's it, basically.
Amazing. Becker, thank you so much for all that you all are doing at Flowless. It's not only an inspiration to see Flowless in action and the impact that you're making in the world, but also to see you and your team and how you all are showing up each day as social entrepreneurs representing Palestine, doing amazing things in the world. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Great pleasure.
All righty, wonderful. So this is the point where we're going to stop the recording and we're going to open it up for a conversation with the community. So